never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, folks. It's yet another Monday. It is yet another CFN Live, and I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. It is always an honor when the theme song, the opening, disappears, and you get to see all the comments and all you folks that are joining us. We really appreciate it, and I know Jay and I are going to talk a little bit more about it because we were given some testimonials at the recent Ultimate Fishing Show this past weekend. That was up in Barrie, but we have a lot to discuss, lots going on tonight. So sit back, pour yourself a good stiff drink or a tall one anyway, and enjoy. Just enjoy. Love to see you as well. I believe this is Shane Richard. I can never get the YouTube link, so I apologize. I'm not sure who this is, but good evening to you. Stephen, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Steve Shaw's in the house. Always a pleasure to have anyone from the Shaw family with us on Monday night. Sonia's here with us as well. Richard Dunlop, always a pleasure, my friend. Keep up the great work that you're doing, getting the message out and sharing all of the wonderful things that are going on here in Canadian sports and hunting. You do a fantastic job keeping us in the know, Richard, so keep up the great work. Tony's in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. Adrian, yeah, baby. Nice to see you. I'm sure you're back from the French. It would be difficult fishing up there now. It would be very productive walleye fishing, but yeah, wouldn't exactly be fun. Fernando, how you doing, my friend? Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us. Shane, did I get it right? Is that you? Is that your YouTube link? And sorry I missed you, bud. As I said, I tried to look for you, but couldn't see you, so I apologize for that. Lloyd's in the house. How you doing, Lloyd? Are you sick of shoveling yet? I hear the ice is starting to grow. It's starting to thicken out where you are, buddy. I'm intrigued to hear that. I'm intrigued to hear folks who are actually starting to hard water fish. I think that's the coolest thing, that it's beginning to look like Mother Nature's listening to us, and we're going to get a hard water season after all. Good stuff. Tom, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Ed, it was a pleasure to see you on the weekend as well. And thanks again for joining us. James Shembry got a bite, and the myth, the legend is here with us. Eve's in the house. How you doing, my friend? You want some snow, Scotty? No, Tony. I just want ice. I don't really care too much for the snow at this point. But if it brings ice, bring the snow. I don't at this point. I really could care less, because I just want a hard water season. We're going to discuss that tonight, and the reasons why. Some of our outfitters are chomping at the bit to get some clients out on the ice. So, and a whole bunch of other reasons, but we'll discuss all that tonight. Corey, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks so much for joining us way out on the West Coast, and of course on the other side of the border. You've been kind of a staple here for a number of years, so we really appreciate that. I don't know where I may have been in the washroom. Shane, I have no idea how I missed you. I really didn't. But needless to say, we will hook up at some point. And to your question, I believe it was last week about a meet and greet on the ice. It's in the works, dude. It's in the works. I've already talked to an outfitter already, and we have a plan in place. All we need is some safe ice, or at least thick ice. You can't say safe, I guess, but some thick ice. George, how you doing? Yeah, it is snowing like a banshee, I would imagine, up where you are, and all parts of northern Ontario, and of course out west. They are starting to see what could be a white Christmas. Wouldn't that be interesting? I know we didn't really have it last year. I think it snowed Boxing Day, if I remember correctly, and then the year before that it was New Year's Eve, or maybe it was the other way around. I'm not really sure, but yeah, we've had a green Christmas last two years, so it will be nice to see a white Christmas this year. Joe Vitani's in the house. Always a pleasure to see you, as always. Well, you know what? Without further ado, let's get right to it, because, as I said, I want to bring on our featured guests as always, but there is lots to discuss. And of course, this past weekend, if you don't know, now you know, it was the ultimate ice fishing show. And I know Jim and I are going to probably talk a little bit about it, and I know Jay and I are as well. What was so cool about this was the fact that it actually got held. It actually went on, and it was some great presenters there. It was nice to see some really, really cool takeaways from this show from a personal perspective, but I want to share it to our CFN community. This, I don't know, unsuspecting young lady comes into the POW casting booth where I'm there with the Norris family and Tristan as well from Artie's Jigs. Big shout out to you. You were a lot of help this weekend. So again, shout out to the entire Norris family and all those who came by the booth, said hello, and spent a little bit of money. Brad truly appreciated it. So thanks so much for that. And of course, Tristan from Artie's Jigs. But this unsuspecting young lady comes in. I started sort of just pointing things out that were, featured on the shelf. As you can see in the post, it was posted today. But I was really taken back because I didn't know who I was really talking to. And as you will find out very soon, I probably should have. But needless to say, I was going on, and you could just tell she was really enjoying what I was saying and some of the advice I was giving her, and she was just soaking it in. And I think if it can be a reminder to anybody, don't assume anything, because I just assumed she was a brand new angler, new to the sport, and the way she was listening so attentively, I didn't know until she pulled out her phone and started showing me some of the pics of some of her fish. So, Julissa, I tell you, Demara, you were an absolute joy to meet. And of course, the comment that she left on the post today truly just shows the kind of person she was. But the honor was all mine. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I was so taken back because, of course, she shows me this beautiful picture of this muskie, which I then said, could you send that to me? Because I'd love to post it on our page and feature it. She said, well, I've already been featured on one of the pages on social media. I said, oh, really? Which one? CFN. So, yeah, that's, usually when I insert my foot. But no, not needless to say, it was so awesome. Steve did a fantastic edit, but it is so cool to be able to meet some of these people who are, sort of new to the page, had their first edit. This fish, she had to release it so quickly because it was a lot of weight, and it was difficult holding it up. But I mean, just a delight. So again, my biggest and best advice I can give: don't assume anything with anybody, because as I found out, she probably knows more about fishing than I do. So, but she was just taking it in, and she was just a gem, absolute gem. So thanks very much, Julissa, for stopping by the booth and everything, because it was such a positive interaction, and I was just so taken back by it. Another thing that I was taken back by as well is a gentleman by the name of Matt Morrison. And he has started something called Raptor Fishing. And I got to speak to Matt at, I would say, at great length. And he is going to be coming on the show. I asked him, actually, would you be ready to come on this Monday? And he's like, as much as I'd love to, Scotty, I'm not really ready. Do you mind if we postpone it and reschedule it for another time? And I said, absolutely. Because what he is doing which I think is so awesome, is he is starting a beginner's guide. It is a page. This is strictly for amateurs, and he will spell out things that will help you save time. It will save money, frustration. It will point you in the right direction when it comes to things that you're going to need. He goes through on his webpage in great detail, some of the things that you need based on where you are, how deep you're fishing, what kind of fish you're fishing. I don't believe he's sponsored by anybody as it is right now, but I do know that there's a lot of folks that really like what he's doing, as do I, and certainly want to get on board with everything that Matt is doing. Great story of how it all started. Just sort of kind of, lost his job down and out. I think he may have even got hurt at work, and he started this. And as we all know, fishing is just something that mends the brain. It gives us the mental health we need and allows us, that release, if you will, that escape. And now, much like we do, Matt wants to pass that on to others. So he's got a great bunch of ideas. I don't want to share any of it or ruin it, but he'll be coming up on the show in upcoming weeks. So I invite you to tune in, because it's going to be quite something. And what he's got planned, if he sticks with it, I'll tell you, man, it's quite incredible. And especially for our young folks and new beginners to the sport, new Canadians especially. This is the other thing. I said, if you are putting stuff together, it would be great if we could get translations, because that's the other thing, is there's not a lot of other languages out there explaining sort of the how-to and what not to do, and how to do this and not do that. So anyway, Matt will be coming on the show at some point, and I really look forward to that. Of course, after this show, and we have a whole bunch of other shows, I have a big reminder, of course, our upcoming Made in Canada Tackle Show and Marketplace. We have 3 venues that we're really excited about, and really want to announce to just get the ball going. But Sunday, February 9th, we're going to be in Chatham. We're back in Kitchener at Binghamton's. I want to say back just because it's close to Woodstock. That's April 11th and 12th. And then, of course, we are in Niagara to wrap it all up. And this is April 25th and 26th. If you are a vendor, and I am getting calls, I know Brad is getting lots of calls as well. But if you are someone that wants to have either tackle swap table or a booth, we will get you the website that you need in order to contact either Brad or I. I would recommend Brad, just because he's the one that's usually in front of the computer and is able to get the spots and sort of guide you into the booth that you want. That's kind of unique to our show, is that you kind of get to pick your booth, which you don't really get to do at a lot of other shows, and for obvious reasons. But we're trying to make it unique. But needless to say, that is upcoming. That is the website. So if you want to go there before or right now, by all means, I invite you to do so. Now, of course, we have Christmas coming up. I know we're not even in December, but you know what? This is going to be the pattern. This is going to be the underlying sort of message, as we move forward towards Christmas. Because there are, as anglers, I mean, we always can use more. We probably shouldn't. I know I'm reaching over the shoulder of a few husband and wives. I could tell. I said to the wife, is it now that you want me to tell him that he's got too much in his tackle box already? Anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with those that came by the show. But needless to say, because Christmas is coming and there are some really great ideas, if you don't know about this, and I know it's a few years in now, Jeremy Wade is very popular from River Monsters, but he has a book out that's called Think Like a Fish. And I just want to share this video, because if you don't have it on your coffee table, or somewhere on a table in the washroom that you're able to read, or perhaps at the cottage, this is something that it'd be a great novelty, great stocking stuffer. And I'll let Jeremy explain it.
What is the secret of catching a big fish? Well, after nearly 50 years of fishing, I think I've worked some of it out. It's a mixture of art and science, but there are other things that it's less easy to put your finger on. I've spent the last couple of years trying to get down on paper what it is that's going through my mind while I'm fishing. I try to delve into my unconscious and actually pin down the components of my approach. The kind of fishing I do has forced me to get analytical. This is because some of the places I go to have never been fished with a rod and line. I've had to go right back to first principles. To do that, I've had to think about what those principles are. And what I've come to understand is this: when the big, overwhelming thing is broken into smaller elements, the mind can get to work. What's meant to do is put the right bait. They are things that apply anywhere. They apply equally in the Amazon, in the Himalayan foothills, in the Congo, but just as much they apply in a place like this.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for that, Matt. It is. It's truly something to see or to read. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm just leafing through it because a lot of the stuff is available probably illegally online. But it looks really interesting. But I like how he ties it all in. Like, it really doesn't matter where you are. A lot of what he presents and makes available to us, the reader, you can pretty much use anywhere. Whether it's a puddle or a Great Lake or the ocean, it's all pretty much the same. So if you want to think like a fish, like some of us do, Corey, you're already there, and I know a lot of us anglers who love fishing, that's kind of ingrained in our head to do that. But it is a great Christmas gift, great idea, and I invite you, if you are still looking for that something for that certain someone, there's a great idea for you. Also, some other great Christmas gift ideas. Of course, Richard with us. He is busily taking orders for our CFN swag. And of course, this beautiful hoodie that is so apropos this time of year. It is a light hoodie. It's not a heavy hoodie. So you could definitely put stuff underneath it. And it's just perfect. It's actually like I don't even know what you call it. It's like a tablecloth. It's like the most ultimate tablecloth. Because it's a thin layered fabric, but extremely durable, and the graphics show up so nicely. So if you want to look just like Richard, just as sexy as that man right there, I invite you to reach out to Richard. Now, something I do want to bring to light, as we all know, we're having a postal strike. So when it comes to getting your swag to you, Richard and I are going to have to be creative in the next coming weeks anyway, for however long this postal strike goes on, to get something, because of course all the courier companies, their prices have been all jacked, and in order to keep the cost down to both you and us, we're going to have to be creative on how we get it to you, but we will work very diligently on that, so stay tuned. A couple last minute announcements. Of course, we are taking bookings. I shouldn't say Doris and Warren are taking bookings. But that is the CFN retreat for 2025, August 10th to the 16th. That is your price, under $1,000 plus taxes. It includes your meals, your boat rental, a shared accommodation, fuel, bait, and of course, a nightly fish fry. So if you are interested in joining us, August 10th to the 16th, love to have you. Please get a hold of Warren and Doris. That's all the information you need right there, including the email and the toll-free telephone. I invite you to call, because as I said, those spots are going to be booking. They're going to be booking up very quickly. And of course, another one that is going to be booking very quickly, because we have a lot of returnees that we're very excited to hear that we've extended our stay at Camp McIntosh. I guess we've minded our P's and Q's. We've been good little boys and girls, and instead of it just being a weekend, we have now opened it up to the Wednesday to Sunday. So September 24th to the 28th, that is where we're going to be for the OFC Nation retreat at Camp McIntosh. If you want to catch, those were the giants caught last year, except of course our reigning smallest fish champ, Pauline Gordon. What a great lady. I tell you, Tom and her are just a hoot to be around. She's a lot of fun, and we do the smallest fish for her, and she is 3-time reigning champ as the smallest fish caught at Camp McIntosh. So if you are looking to join us, Of course, please reach out to Andre and Tracy. That is the email. That is the website. And of course, that is the phone number. I'd love to see you folks up there. As I said, don't delay. Get your butt booked in a bid today. Don't delay. Of course, one other announcement I want to make. CFN is going to be helping, including myself, Danny Bacon, and Nick Huxon, and a host of other characters. We are going to be hosting our first walleye tournament. It is the North Channel Walleye Open. The reason I am mentioning it is if you're interested in competing, by all means, we'd love to have you up there as a competitor. But because of the Made in Canada tackle show, and right now we really haven't taken it too far on the road, this will be our first big stop away from the GTA. It will be as big as the number of vendors that we get that are able to come. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. I'm thinking of a guy like Chris Bain, Junction Tackle just around the corner. Charles, if you're on here, I'm sure you'd love to come down as well. But local tackle producers that would like to be a part of it, we are hoping to get a tent and set it up properly so that you can vend your stuff accordingly, whether the elements are good or bad. But needless to say, if you're interested, we are hoping to have this trade show up and running during the event and hopefully put a little bit of money in the pockets of the local vendors, as well as put some new stock in the tackle boxes of those who live up there. Last announcement, next week is Ladies' Night with Yvonne, and I am so honored to announce the one and only Barb Carey is going to be joining us next week. Barb Carey is going to be in the house with Yvonne Brown, and I look forward to that because it's always a good time when Barb's around. She is an absolute hoot, and I'm so looking forward to it. That's all for the announcements. I took way too much time, and I apologize right now to the three that are waiting in the lobby because they're cursing my name. We got Big Jim coming up right after a word from our sponsor and, of course, his intro.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Here he is, the one and only, the master, the myth, the legend.
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Jim McLaughlin.
Yo.
Well, Jim, it's always a pleasure to see you each and every Monday. Did miss you on the weekend. Would have loved to have shared a story or two with you up in Barrie, but totally understand why you weren't there. But nonetheless, you were very missed. And I did have a few people ask, where's Big Jim? Where's Big Jim? So
It's on vacation in Hawaii.
there.
When I asked the lady after I got the pain treatments on Monday and Friday, or Tuesday and Friday, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I asked the lady, the technician, after the doctor was gone, I said, hey, I meant to ask the doctor, how big are those needles that they stuck in the base of my spine? She says, oh, I just threw them out. I'll show you. And she gets a new one still in the wrapper.
Yeah.
I ain't going back.
Wow.
They're like 9-10 inches. They're literally like 9-10 inches long. Like I caught smaller bass this year.
I know I did too, bud. I got you beat. I guarantee
These
you.
days I caught none though, so it's whatever the hell.
Oh, that's too funny. We have so much to talk about, you and I, and I have a bunch of videos that I want to share with you. One thing that I've always sort of, and I know you have, let's say, a fond dislike for too much terminal tackle if you're tying up a bait. I want you to think about this. I know this isn't new. These clips I've seen around, but
I'll have them tomorrow morning. I'm dead serious.
Really?
I saw them and I said to Tammy, and so she went on Amazon and found them for me. The same thing for $4.
Are you serious? Oh, okay, let me show the video and
Yeah.
let's see if this is what you're talking about.
This is a swivel. This is a quick clip.
Yeah.
And the way this works is right here, very simple. Take that, put it right there at the angle, snap it right on. You can tell the difference between the swivel and the quick clip. Quick clip is a lot stronger, bigger, and a lot of people saying, wouldn't it mess up your action? Well, this is a 20-year-old crankbait that has a clip style that came from factory. We've been using them for years, and this is how it works. Take it off just as easy. But then what do? You just put it right here in this spot and pull. Quick clip, nice and easy. They come in 4 different sizes: 120 pound, 70 pound, 45, and 15-pound test. And
I thought it was ingenious. Now I've seen them around. Like I've seen, or maybe they're just similarities to.
Yeah,
that.
I just got the little ones out of curiosity because I always use the VMC the round snap, and I just thought it just sort of caught my mind. It was one of those things, or it caught my eye, and I said to Tammy, I showed it to her, and she went and ordered a bunch, and they said they shipped and they'd be delivered tomorrow morning before 8. So if the lake doesn't freeze, I can go try it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how cold is it out your way?
It's 0 right now. It's supposed to go down to like -1 or something, and then by the morning it's like +5 here again. But up in Ottawa, they're supposed to. I mean, that's an hour and a half away. They're looking at freezing rain and some snow, and like it looks like they may get a little more than here, because even on the map when they show it, where the area from Kingston about 20 minutes north to where we are is still just marked green. There's nothing. So
I was talking to Walter Heck last night, and I said, yeah, I think we're going to get into some ice baking weather. Supposed to get down to -6, and he's just shaking his head. He's like, -6. He says, you know what it is outside right now here, Scotty? I said, no. He's in Regina. He said it's -15. It's supposed to go down to -26. So I'll take your -6. Bring me your -6. They're getting a heck of a lot of snow out that way too. So
I noticed it was really funny. They had this lady on the news, and I thought you get your 30 seconds of fame on the news, and it shows trying to shovel, and she says, I can't do this. I'm out of breath. It's the same every year. I'm going to be late for work, and she's just in a tizzy. And I thought to myself, why didn't you just get up a half an hour earlier then? You knew this was out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she was just in a tizzy about snow, and I thought, not a good example to put on the news, but they did.
No, 100%.
She was just bent. The government has to do something. Something has to be done about it. So anyways,
some would say they already are.
I got a note into our fearless leader there, and hopefully he gets back to me tonight, and I'll put him in touch with the lady.
Good, right on. We'll keep that under our hats, under our lid. But yeah,
I want to fight him.
Yeah. Speaking of
Travis the other day,
yeah.
I said tomorrow morning, Parliament Hill, bare knuckles, my last coup de grace. And he looked at me, goes to me, not a chance, dude. I said, what do you mean? He said, you'll get lost in the lineup.
Oh, that's what a comeback. What a comeback.
He said, wow. I'll run right over top of you to get to him.
Wow. You get lost.
I said, hey, I have a wheelchair pass now in the vehicle if I want to use it, Oh my God, he was
that is classic.
That was funny this morning, when we had Tammy at the pain clinic today.
Yep.
I drove up in the front. There was a bunch of wheelchair spots there, permit spots as they call them or whatever. And, I wouldn't use it. I dropped her off at the front door and I went and parked at the back of the parking lot because, somebody else that needs it more than me.
Yep. Good for you.
When I went last week, both days I parked right. I was lucky. I got the first one in a row, and I put the sticker in the window and I hobbled in. I had no idea what was going to happen to me coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got some really good relief out of it, but it seems to have settled in, and it's not. It's helped in certain ways, but that to just stand up and stand on the same spot, I'm still like at about a 5-minute limit, and it just gets annoying.
Yeah.
So I'll see. He told me he couldn't do anything. He didn't think he could do anything for that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I stand up, say I'm sitting in a chair and I get up,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that initial feeling like somebody took out 2 Rambo knives and put one each in the back of my thighs.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone. So that's monstrous for me, because when I get up, there isn't a 10-second pause where I have to straighten up slower or I get the pain.
Yeah.
Like I can just get up out of the chair and walk away. So
Right.
that's like.
So on that note, I got to ask you this, because I saw a video today, and again, I understand there's so much drama right now when it comes to forward-facing sonar, but I'm starting to see the size of screens increase to almost an ungodly size, and I have to ask, Jim, if you were still in the tournament game.
Yep.
Given where you've come from, what you've seen, and what you've gone through.
Yep.
Would the front of your boat look anything like this?
Probably not quite like that, but it would definitely be there.
Because that, to me, that like I understand it. I'm not trying to,
See, anybody can get that. That's just a monitor that you buy.
Yeah.
And you hook up. You'll see the name on it there. There's probably a certain name on it, but you can go buy like a 20-inch, 30-inch monitor and just hook it up and put it at the front of your boat.
And obviously, it's not necessarily, I mean, to coin a phrase, it doesn't mean that larger is better. But if you have a screen that size with, detailed pixels, and of course you have to do the pixel count, because that's the most important part. It doesn't matter how big the screen is; it's how many pixels it has. And I know Dave Chong, if he were here talking about it, he would agree 100%. I don't know what size that screen is down in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to assume it's a 10-inch screen. I'm going to assume it. So this has got to be somewhere in the I don't know, the variety of like 21-inch up here.
Possibly, yeah.
But that just I don't know.
I'm considering putting it on the boat next year.
That size, yeah, or live
No,
scope?
not that size, just
Live scope.
Forward-facing sonar. I gotta, before I'm not going to be in boats and not doing it. I gotta have it and play around with it, and I really don't know enough about it right now. But I mean, I can get some people that know a lot about it to come in the boat for a morning, and you'll be a sort of a quasi expert by noon. So yeah, for the guys that can't see well, yeah.
It's a good point, Jim. Good point. And yeah, I'm definitely one of them that, when it comes to, I don't know what it is, but years of staring into that phone, my eyesight has definitely changed. So I don't know if I'd want to be staring into that all day, every day.
Make the font be bigger on your phone. It's really easy. I figured it out, you Gil. When you played that commercial about this stuff, eh?
Yes.
It's absolutely amazing, when you see it up close. It's just
it is an incredible technology, and
like I had a guy say to me, "Oh," he looks at it, he goes, "Oh, that's just going to break." Well, I don't think so. I got a jerkbait that's covered in teeth mark. It's got the grooves in it from the hooks hitting it. You've used it so much, because I haven't got bit off for it. But I did lose.
I'm thinking by now, Jim, it would be all over social media. If one had broken by now, everybody'd be hearing about it.
Oh, I'm sure they've had one break. I mean, it's something, there's always one breaks of everything, It's, no.
Now you have some baits that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I got some other stuff I was playing with and looking at this weekend. One of the things that I got here, my buddy Tony, who's Cat's son over at Owner Hooks in California, sent me over a bunch of these. And they're a jig head. But if you notice the shape of the head, see the shape of the head?
Yeah.
The way it is? It's developed for forward-facing sonar. That's why they have more lead on the front of it, across the front, so it pick it up from a distance. They've changed that. But because of the positioning of the lead, the way it is, if you look close again, see the way the way it's in there?
Mm-hmm.
That makes any swim bait you put on there. I just got a little Jackal Rhythm Wave on there. It'd be, perfect. You can put a bigger bait on if you want, but whatever. it makes almost any bait you want to put on it do this in the water.
Interesting.
Yeah, you could put on like if I took the tail off this and it didn't have the wobble at the back, it would still be going back and forth like this.
Interesting.
And it's just really, really cool. That's why it's called a roller,
Okay.
range roller.
And you are 100% on board with the fact that you have more fish bite with the wobble than you do with the flicker of the tail. Are you?
Oh yeah, a million.
Yeah.
I mean, a million. I mean, like all the minnow baits, the same thing with, spoons basically do this. They don't do this so much.
Mhm.
It's like if you reel a spoon really slow, a lot of them will start moving back and forth like this. But this wobble versus wiggle, I don't even think it's close.
Interesting.
Don't even think it's close.
What are your feelings, folks, in the comments? Do you rather the flick of the tail or the wobble of the plastic? What are your thoughts on that? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I have a dog in the fight, to be quite honest with you. I've never really noticed a difference in terms of catch rate.
Well, I did it from so I've just done so much hard bait fishing in my life.
Yeah.
And I mean, what does a rattle bait do?
True enough.
There's so much, there's so many other baits that this is what they do.
Yeah. Okay.
And the belief on that is that the fish are more apt to see it, for one thing, because it reflects the light down, it reflects the light up.
Makes sense.
I know a lot of the big time walleye guys in the States, they're bent on this. They're bent on it.
Well, let's be honest. Most Rapalas that came out when we were younger anglers,
all the minnow baits.
that's all they've ever done. Yeah.
Yep. And another thing I got there, I saw this posted, and Wes over at Wham Baits sent me over a couple of these. I saw them. You can see one in the package there. It's like a little hand poured swim bait, and I got one there on one of the BKK Titan divers, the weighted bellies. But that there, to me, I mean, it's too late now. The year's done. I'm not going to be getting out, but that right there just winds me right up. And I was talking about it. It's a really great thing. And one of the cool things about it, I got another one here that I had fished earlier this summer and got quite a few on, actually, was using a bigger, heavier one and reeling it back really slow, letting it get right down into, like, not in a solid weed bed, places where it was scattered and that, but just so you were fishing closer to the bottom, use the heavier one.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things about this, and it's on all the BKK ones, see the little piece of plastic that tucks in there at the back?
Right. And that's just a stopper?
It just keeps your bait in place.
Yeah. Perfect.
Push it up against it. I don't know. Why didn't this happen before? Why didn't somebody come up with that? All the guys that sit at home, tinkering and come up with all this stuff. I'm just absolutely shocked they didn't come up with that, because it really, really definitely works. But when Wes sent that stuff over, he sent me a couple of other bags of stuff that he makes too. You know what I mean? I like to support all the little plastic guys. I've been trying to give them all a little blast, over the summer.
Yep.
It's called the Wham Solo.
Wham Solo.
Yeah. See the little fork tail on it?
Yeah.
That it's just something a little different. You can fish on an edge rig. You can fish it on the roller jig. On that, bring it back. It's going to give that a little bit of back and forth play. But it's just another little thing. It's something that I haven't seen before, and I love that color too.
That is a nice color, yes.
Really good color too. Yeah. But it's just another one of the things out there. There's so many small bait dealers out there now. Guys doing plastic. Like we had Jamie from True North up there on the weekend.
Yeah.
My good buddy Jeff in Kingston here, Limestone Lures. We've been doing some stuff together here and there. He's got some great stuff. He got himself a couple of shops this week, so he's really excited. But
and I think the key to a lot of the success that these folks like Jamie and Nikki are having at True North is that they come out with new products. And I don't know,
constantly making new stuff. But this is the one cool thing about this. Some of these guys, the stuff they're doing, they're ordering, like, they're not ordering stock molds.
Mm-hmm.
They're sending a shape in and getting it made. Like anybody can order a swim bait mold from Do It or whoever. There's a lot of companies that have them out there. You just call them up and say, send me the 4-inch swim bait, give me your money, and it's done. And it's the same thing though. Like you've heard me talk about the ball heads before, you know.
Yeah.
Every walleye guy has a ball head mold from Do It, and they make the jigs, and because they give a handful to their buddy say, "Oh, that's the best jig head ever," but it's the same jig head that everybody makes.
100%.
It's when you get the paint on it that it makes a difference, eh?
Yeah.
That's,
And
that's where you see a lot of guys. Well, you just mentioned Chris Bain there.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's got some dynamite paint jobs, and it's there's some other guys out there that have brought paint jobs a long way too.
100%.
Yeah.
Firebrand is one of the products that we had at the Powcassie booth on the weekend, and we were doing a demo. We were putting a blank that was painted, had the clear coat over top of it, and we were shaking it in rocks just to show folks how durable the clear coat is. And I can't think of the gentleman's name offhand. I know Brad, if he was here, he would probably put it in the comments, but he uses a heavy-duty automotive clear coat. Which again, like, unless you see it firsthand, you don't believe it. It's like, yeah, this is just another. No, it actually really works. We shook that can, I don't know how many friggin' times, both Saturday and Sunday. And outside of it getting a little bit sanded, like a sanded look, if you will, we would dip it in the water tank, and the paint was just impeccable. So
see, that would never even happen to a lure when you're fishing with it.
Exactly.
It's not getting beat. I mean, I used to a lot of guys, some of the places I worked where you had to deal with warranty, and they'd send something in, and they cast it off a bridge piling or something because the lead has a flat edge on it, and of course when the lead went flat, the paint broke because the paint, you change the shape of the lead, the paint doesn't fit anymore, so it breaks. No, I didn't hit anything with it. He'd send a new one. It didn't make a difference, but it's just you get stuff like that. I remember years ago, Ruby Polsky. I don't think Ruby's with us anymore. I'm not sure. He used to have Jigajoe out of Quebec.
Okay.
And, he was telling me one day about them painting, and they got some new paint that they were going to use. It was Fandango and indestructible. And he says to me, he was at Fishing Buddies when I was working there doing a lot of the buying, and he comes out and he shows me some of them. And I looked at them and I said, "Holy crap!" I said, "That paint's thick on there because I know the jig head. I know the mold the jig head came out of it. There's not a mark in the paint from the lead. It's thick." And I says, "Hey, let's give it the ultimate test." He said, "What's that?" So we used to play ball hockey in the parking lot if the store was dead. I get a hockey stick and we go outside, and I stick handle that old half-ounce jig head back and forth, and I cast it off the wall, and nothing happens to it.
Wow.
Nothing. Like I looked at it and I looked at him. I thought, how can this be?
That's incredible.
I just did a little wrist shot off the wall with this jig head, and there's not a mark in it, eh? And I look at him and I go, "It's going to be trouble for you." He goes, "What's that?" I said, "How do you get the paint out of the eye?" And he said, "Well, you use one of the eye busters." So 2 eye busters later, we still hadn't got the paint out of the eye. This paint, when it cured, was so hard. And thankfully, he had only done samples.
Wow.
To give to all the salesmen and everything. And they had to have a whole bunch of, they had to just go back and adjust it a bit. And I guess they had to take hardeners out or whatever they did, but they eventually got it so it was fine. Eh?
Interesting.
And to this day, I think his son still has it, and it's a great product. It's neat though, but
Awesome.
you don't realize some of the things coming along like that.
Now, I know you're busy this week upcoming. What are some of the things you got on the go?
Yeah, I got the gym. I got another doctor's appointment. I have a radio thing I got to record. Have to get groceries. We're doing the paper. So I spent 2.5, 3 hours doing emails this morning, and we brought Tammy to the pain clinic there, and we got that done. But just lots of stuff. And then a week Saturday, I have my Christmas breakfast with my buddies up in Ottawa from high school.
Yeah.
So that's come along again. But I spent a lot of time this morning, probably about an hour and a half with the people from the Sportsman Show in Ottawa, and I was happy that CFN is going to be there with us once again.
Yeah,
and,
baby.
I am going to pursue the other part with a different angle. Outside that bugged me today, eh?
It's understandable.
But yeah, it was one of those things where I saw the reasoning right away because it was the thing years ago about some things that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So you have to, it's one of those things. Yeah, but we got lots of seminars going, and it was really neat because they, when I was talking to them today, they told me that he said to me, "Why don't you find us somebody really big to come on Saturday and Sunday?" So I said, like, well, how big? Give me a number, like that kind of thing. I might become an agent here for a cut. Scott was laughing, eh? I got Scotty Martin to come to the show for $12,000. 95% commissions.
Well, I would if I ever got that payout, Jim, I guarantee I'd give you 80% of it.
It'd be there. 50-50.
Nope, 80%. I'd be willing to
So
have.
I went right to
that kind of money. I'm in.
I went right to Mr. Mercer, and he says, "Dude, I'm in."
Right on.
I said, "How much?" He said, "Before I give you a price, let me go check the book." And he texted me back 20 minutes later, a big sad face. It's the first one of the tournaments he has in the States that he has to be at the same weekend. So he's not there. And I was gonna look at getting Gord Pizer.
Yep.
But Gord's health is in question. And it would have been cool because if we get, as Gord's always said, if you bring Gord, he has to bring Liam.
Yep.
Because that's his goal in life, is to see Liam go on to greatness in this industry.
Doing great things. I tell you, he is.
But it doesn't mean it can't happen. Gord's appointment with the doctor got canceled. The doctor had a family emergency, so he put him off for a few days. I think he sees him. I think it might have been today or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
He sees him, so that's good. But I'm going to look around. I asked Dave. I said, "Can you give me a ballpark idea? You got any idea what KVD would charge to come up to Ottawa just for the Saturday? Like, possibly fly in first thing Saturday morning, go back Sunday morning or something." He says to me, he says, I don't know what he does now, how much of that he does, but he said you could always try him. You could always try him. So I sent him a message. I haven't heard back from him.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I sent Jimmy Lindner a message.
Oof.
And I asked him about getting Al to come.
Wow.
Not him. So I think that would be a coup and a half to get Al to come.
Yeah, that would.
And these guys, though, you got to remember too, it's the same thing. Just like I'm starting to experience. They're getting older, and I mean, Al doesn't have to worry financially. He can, he does what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He was out largemouth fishing last weekend. Mm-hmm. They're just clobbering them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just outside deep green weed and 12, 15 feet of water. They're catching them on jigs, one after the other. That
is passion, baby. That is passion.
Yeah. It was really nice out there. So, anyways, I got time to think about that.
Right on.
When I'm sitting between sets at the gym, I got lots of time to look that over. And I guess, as you saw, and I told you too, I had my granddaughter at the gym.
Yes.
And with Lacey, that was cool. So,
that's awesome.
Hey, Steve.
Just say we'll talk, Steve.
I'll have my people get to your people.
There you go. Right on.
Okay.
Jim, have yourself a great week, bud. Thanks so much for joining us as you do every Monday, and just keep on keeping on, dude.
Everybody be safe out there.
You're such a gem. Right on, bud.
Take care.
I want to share a video before we bring Lawrence in. And the reason I'm sharing this is it has such a great message. So I want to play that for you. Jim, have yourself a great week, bud.
Adios.
Yeah, baby.
There's never in the lifetime, in the history of commercial fishing, there's never been this few of us as there is right now.
There's an old saying that if you're born on an island, you'll get your feet wet. The sea, with its islands, is a place of business for a whole breed of men who don't mind wet feet. In some ways, lobstering is immensely complex. In another sense, it is simple and direct. The sea belongs to all equally. Whatever it holds is yours for the taking.
My name's Dan Pronk. I'm 54 years old. I've been lobster fishing full-time since 1988 when I graduated high school. I basically grew up in the creeks and rivers and the oceans in Marshfield, Mass, digging and catching whatever we could. You know, you run around like a chicken with your head cut off before we go fishing, and when I'm on land, you know, I'm all tense and twisted up about something. Somebody's pissing me off all the time. Once we get out on the boat, though, all that just kind of melts away, and it's a different mindset out there. We got issues out there, and they could be more drastic than the ones on land, but it's just different. Just kind of a freedom, you know, and when we're catching lobsters, there's no place I'd rather be, you know, on a nice day, even if it's not a nice day. That weather the other day was kind of lousy, but we're catching lobsters. You got a good group of people on the boat. You get good music going. Where else would you want to be? That's the way I look at it. You know, each trap's like a treasure box, treasure chest that comes up. Some of them come up empty. Some of them come up with 8 or 10 lobsters in it. It's like, here we go. So it's like a game of chess because they move, but you got to know where and when to be. And I can't tell you those answers because I don't know them all. I know some of them where and when they're going to be, but every day's different. You know, it's like I said, it's almost like a treasure hunt. You know, you take your experience and what you see out there, and you figure out where they're going to be, or at least you hope you know where they're going to be. And like I said, it's a chess game, you know, but bigger stakes.
There. Just a great message, Lawrence. And it's why I wanted to play it. If you want to watch the rest of it, I invite you to go. It's Where the Land Ends. It's kind of a very interesting take on the lobster fishery, commercial lobster fishery, down in New England, down in the States, which is a little bit different to what's going up here in Canada. As I said, just wanted to play it simply because it doesn't matter if you are a recreational angler or a commercial angler. Our passion remains the same. Lawrence, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, buddy. Doing well. A little tired. You know, I spent the last week up in North Bay for Nature Outfitters in Ontario, Tourism Ontario. They had their annual general meeting, 3 days of just fun and information and presentations and just a lot of talking.
That's awesome. Anything can you share with us? Or
Yeah. Hang on, I got a little list of things here. I was going to. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So I ran into Angela Viola and Pete Bowman. They were there with the Canadian Fishing Canada crew. There was probably six or seven of them all together.
really?
You know, Angela and Pete, they're cruising, looking for places to film, right? You know, what lodges and resorts are going to be featured in the 2025 filming, calendar. So yeah, it's a big event for them as well, for sure.
And they've been doing this for a number of years, you know, and they're still at it. It's
Over 30 years that Fishing Canada's been playing on television. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Discover Ontario is the organization that funds all the local tourism sort of agencies up in the north, like Discover Northern Ontario is one of them. And they had a lot of people there. All the big cities across Ontario had representatives there, 3 or 4. There was probably 6 or 7 people from Tourism North Bay there. So everyone's trying to sort of attract attention to their cities, right? And come to our region of Ontario. The competition is serious, my friend. Holy mackerel! I tell you, they were pulling out all the stops, and I was just going along for the ride and enjoying it because a lot of that, sponsored lunch, sponsored breakfast, sponsored reception, and everyone was being wined and dined. No cash bars, no free bars or anything, but it was reasonable. But it's what's funny is that it's the end of hunting season, so a lot of these lodge owners have just closed the door and put their camp away for the winter, and they're coming out of the bush after 6 months, 7 months, and they are just ready to just
tie one on.
So the first night was Cowboy Western night and games and all sorts of fun stuff, and then the next night they brought us to this brand new sort of sports center North Bay created. They brought us on buses over there. And then the last night was the awards ceremony for recognizing all the leaders in the industry. It was quite, and that was a formal event. Everyone dressed up for that. And food was wonderful. The emceeing was fantastic, well organized. Just amazing. And it just to remind you, you know, the money brought into Northern Ontario by fishing and hunting is more than mining and forestry combined. We talked about that, but it's super important to them. And how do you make sure you're doing it sustainably, right? You're not shooting yourself in the foot the way you do it.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, COVID, you know, they had that big recession in 2006, 2007 when the financial sector in the U.S. collapsed. A lot of Americans stopped coming up, and it was around the same time that the American government implemented a passport. So you had to have a passport to get into the United States. Most Americans don't have a passport. So if that means if they leave the United States, they can't get back in. So that's a bit of a deterrent. Then we just started rebuilding out of that, and COVID hits. And COVID was responsible. I said the U.S. tourism into Northern Ontario is about 4% of the tourism dollar. Jeez. And it got cut way back. And it's only back up to 2%. So what stepped in during COVID for all the lodges and resorts that sort of had a family orientation, that sort of got really popular. Like everyone was trying to get out of the city, get into the country, you know, social distancing with the families, just get outside, get away from it all, you know, de-stress. And the ones that you could drive to, the ones that had family type activities along with fishing and hunting, they did better than they've ever done before in their life.
That's awesome.
It's slowing down a bit. People are starting to fly and go on vacations, go to the States, travel, go to Europe again over the last year and a half. So it was a bit of a tougher year this past season. You know, the Americans haven't returned, and Canadians, you know, like the amount of people who took to the outdoors during COVID, that sort of slowed down again. It dropped off a bit again. So, you know, finding other tourism opportunities, everything from canoeing to camping to hiking to bicycling, you name it. Like it's all on the table now for Tourism Ontario, right? It's all on the table, including Indigenous Tourism Ontario. They had a big presence there, and we heard some presentations from them. And they're really doubling down on this, the idea of that people will come to the north to experience firsthand some Indigenous-led tourism experiences, and at the same time as you know, Indigenous Tourism Ontario is getting involved with the First Nations communities to help develop that. You have a lot of these resort and lodge owners saying, "Hey, you know what? I'd like to add that to my offering. I'd like to add that to the menu of what people can expect if they come up with their families. You know, things they could say, hey, I want to experience that. I want to experience a storytelling session, a canoe session. I want to go see some rock paintings, you know, Indigenous rock paintings, and have that interpreted for my family." So that's just starting to get going, and it's showing a lot of promise for sure. There's going to be a lot of collaboration, a lot of people reaching out on both sides on that one. That's pretty cool.
It is cool. And you know what? I think it's a good time to jump in because, of course, you know, this time of year, our snowbirds, if you will, or those who like to escape the winter, are looking to those sunny destinations. If I can give any kind of advice, and I know Walter, if he was listening right now, he might attest, as great of a time as he had down in Mexico, they all got sick. And I'm hearing this more and more frequently of people who are traveling via air, and they're going down to either Florida, Mexico, or Dominican, Jamaica. They're coming back and they're having to deal with an illness to you know, a variety of severities, but needless to say, most, not all, but some people are coming back sick. So perhaps I don't want to put the brakes on those sunny destinations or try and tell people not to go, but just look at all their alternatives. And I think, you know, an influx of money in the north is something that is well needed, especially after their bout with COVID.
There was one guy there who was putting on, he's going to put on a multi-day dog sledding experience where you go with tents and food and dogs, and you get a sled, and you're the musher on your sled with your gear, and you're going to go for several days. You know, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days. You pick the timing, but it's not just like a half hour out, half hour back kind of thing like we're used to, right? You know, we've all seen that kind of offering. This is going to be pretty serious stuff. And I was a little surprised they didn't mention ice fishing in the mix. And I thought now, because I've talked to some Yukon sledding operations, and even right here in north of where we have our Bluefish Exploration Center, we have a father-son team that are offering multi-day dog sledding opportunities with ice fishing. And what I find interesting too, this is not I haven't heard of any indigenous groups doing this. It's all non-indigenous people doing the sled dog operations, these overnight operations, which is interesting. But I guess it costs. You have to have some money to get into it. You have to have the dogs. You have to have the kennels. You have to, there's a lot of pretty strict rules now on how you need to house these dogs in Ontario. It's if you're going to keep your dogs outside, you have to make sure they're well accommodated now. You can't leave them outside if they're not. So there's changed some rules around on that. So you got to plunk down some serious cash for that to happen. And and as you know, there's just an apology made, I think yesterday, up north to the fact that the RCMP shot a lot of the sled dogs amongst the Inuit in the 1950s and 60s. Any sled dog that was running loose was shot because they were seen as a menace. And they pretty much wiped out the sled dogs up in parts of Canada's Arctic. And I'm thinking, well, just tie up your dogs. But I know, how do you tie up a dog that's going to chew through a leather tether, right? As fast as you tie them up, they're going to chew through the leather and take off again if they're not exhausted. If they want to go, they're just going to bite through whatever's tying them up and they're going to go. That's just before.
That's what they're designed to do naturally.
Yeah,
It comes naturally to them to run. They just want to run.
Yeah, not just be tied up. Because I've got one little dog here that I the only thing I tie him up to reliably is something with wire. And even then, I'm noticing today he's trying to chew through the wire.
Is that right?
He figured it out pretty young that I can break through anything with his teeth, can break through anything with his teeth, and he's gone.
I think the coolest thing about dog sledding, for one, just doing it, obviously that's the obvious takeaway, but the dynamics amongst the group, amongst the team, there's always a lead dog, and everybody's sort of got to fall in place. It's remarkable. Again, not to get off too track from ice fishing or any kind of fishing for that matter, but if you ever get a chance to watch a documentary on dog sleds, it is remarkable to see how the dogs react and how there is a pecking order, and everybody knows where they are in that It's truly amazing.
Oh yeah, and the dogs see that when they come into your life, that they look at who's living under your roof, and they figure the pecking order out there too, right? And they figure how can they get to the top.
Yeah, true enough.
One of the other things they brought up was transportation. There was a whole panel on transportation. I said, now what's that about? So I went and listened in on that because I didn't know what that issue was. And they had all the top dogs up there on stage, and they're saying, look, we don't have these regional airlines anymore. They're not flying from city to city to city. We don't have the gray coach buses anymore. Rail got shut down. We had that big washout of the railroad track a few years ago, and they lost their rail service up there. And so there's communities that you can't get to anymore. And they said, well, the roads. And they said, look, some of these roads are private up north. They're owned by companies. And if they decide not to operate them, they, or clean them or maintain them during a part of the season, then it doesn't get done. And then you're sharing the road with these giant mining trucks or forestry trucks, logging trucks. And that can be life, putting your life in your hands when you're sharing a road with these giant trucks. So they say driving up in these roads in the north is very stressful. It's unpredictable, and safety-wise, it's a risk. So they're saying, look, we need to have some transportation back. I remember flying on Bearskin Airlines from Ottawa to Sudbury to Sault Ste. Marie to Thunder Bay to Dryden to Kenora. And I had a meeting in Kenora, and I did all that in like 5 hours. Never got off the plane once, just hop. They don't have that anymore. To get to Kenora, you have to fly to Winnipeg and rent a car. You have to fly to Winnipeg and rent a car to get to Kenora.
Wow.
So it's just ridiculous to get from Sault Ste. Marie to Sudbury. There's nothing. You have to hitch a ride.
I have to say too, one of the things that was taught to me as a young person by my dad, and I'm seeing it even today. One of the most dangerous trucks you never want to get in the wrong way of are those logging trucks. The way they run and how they're paid and what have you. I'm not saying they're all crazy people by any means. I would never ever say that, but they know what they're doing. They know their craft, and you're just in the way.
Yeah, and they're wide loads. They're wide loads, and they got trailers behind them. They're not stopping. It's they're not slowing down or stopping for you.
Yeah.
It's very, like, these are northern people saying this. It's very, very unsafe to be on the roads when you're sharing. I'm not talking the Trans-Canada Highway. I'm talking the roads that go north, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there is some good news. The train from Toronto to Timmins will be back on the tracks in 2026 for that opening of that season. It looks like. Yeah, it'll be 15 stops from Toronto to Timmins. It'll take 12 hours. You can drive it in 8, apparently, but it is now an opportunity. It's not the train that stops at all whenever you just pull the cord, but you can't get off it at 15 different stops. There's the other train is from Hearst to another community. That's the one where you can pull the cord and you can get off at any river or lake, wherever you want. And that's the train that is full of canoes and bicycles and kayaks and fishing rods and guns and dogs. The new train that's going to go from Toronto to Timmins, they brought in these train cars that are made in Germany, and Via just bought some of those. And I was on one the other day, and they're beautiful cars. They do over 200 kilometers an hour. They're very nice seats, nice wide aisles, very clean, very comfortable. They don't shake you like a shake and bake. It's just so this is what we're going to have up near Timmins. So there's some light there, some goodness happening around transportation. But to these businesses up there, this is the lifeblood. How do you get people up? You have to have some airlines. They want airlines, they want trains, but I think the airlines thing is they're saying, and listen, if you convince a regional airline to land at your city, Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, whatever it is, they want you, the city, municipality, to guarantee half the seats are sold. So you have to buy the seats for half the plane, to make. Otherwise, they won't come. If they haven't sold out half the seats, they're not coming. Wow. So you have to guarantee them half the seats will be sold on every flight. So it takes subsidies, right? And then running the airport, and pilots are getting paid more, and flight attendants are hard to find, and so man, oh man, I didn't realize it was such a challenge for them up there with this. It
makes sense. I mean, it's probably just because we don't think of it, but if you do think of it, it kind of makes sense. I could see the struggles they might have.
So my thing I wanted to talk to was, how do these operators define sustainable fishing? Because we talked about this last week, right? Like, do you let people just come up and fill their coolers and, like you said, put them on a UPS plane out of there? Yeah. Or do you manage this and manage expectations of your guests in terms of what they can catch and eat, what they can catch and kill and bring home for trophies or for just meat harvesting, and there was a wide cross sections of opinions on this one, my friend.
Wow. Okay. So I want to hear, I want you to dive into, because at the end of the day, I believe there is a line in the sand, and there's a lot of, back and forth with it. So I'd love to hear what was. Well,
I would say the majority position is still, you want to catch, you want to catch 5 walleye, 6 walleye, whatever the limit is in that part of Ontario, and bring them home and bring them back to your cabin or your lodge and clean them and eat them with your friends, or maybe put a few in the cooler to bring home with you until you reach your possession limit. They're okay with that. And as long as you're following the rules, right? In terms of, there's a slot limit, 4 under, 1 over, whatever. If you're following the rules, they're okay with that. That's the majority position. No one wants to get in the way. If it's the rules, those are the rules, those are the rules. There was some, believe it or not, clarification that people were asking me, Lawrence, what do we do if someone catches a fish out of season and they want to take a picture of it? Because that, they want the promotion, right? I said, you can take pictures of everything you're doing except lifting the fish out of the water and holding it in front of it and doing that grip and grin shot, because then you're not, it wasn't an incidental catch. If you're doing that, you could be accused of targeting. So they were surprised on that. Lot said there was a 30-second rule. There was a 30-second, you can hold it up for 30 seconds, but no, there's no 30-second rule. I don't know where that idea came from.
No, I'd have to say that most folks that are savvy anglers that are quite visible on social media are really starting to get it and really starting to be creative on how they produce their content, how they generate it, and how they follow the rules and still produce content. And to your point, even with fish that are in season, I'm seeing a real trend towards being closer to the water, closer to the net, closer to the ability to release these fish. So, I'd like to say the message is getting out amongst, us here. It needs to be, broadcasted with bullhorns to a lot of other people. But at the end of the day, we got to start somewhere. And I'll tell you, this group here is great at mentoring any kind of angler, whether it be next gen or now gen. On the practice of good ethics when it comes to fish handling. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and if you look at what's happening down south, right, in the States, they're using, the guides are using drones, right? You go out on a boat, a saltwater boat offshore fishing, and you're catching a big fish. They videotape you're playing the fish being brought in, tagged, whatever, and released, and that people love that video more than anything else. Those videos are gold. That's what keeps people to come back. They just that video, they bring it home, they show it, and then they come with friends and family because they want to have that experience too. And so, these operators have to start to realize, okay, you got to maybe invest a little bit in some of this drone technology or some of these cameras that you can put on a long pole, and fix it to your boat somewhere, and a GoPro so it's 10 feet off the water, a few of those so you can capture all the angles, 360 cameras or whatever.
Yeah,
you got to start getting these videos, right? That's what people want. There was one guy.
Sorry, Lawrence, before you go on, Jeremy is bringing up a great remedy as well. Use stills caught by video only as long as you are not posing with the fish. And this is so crucial. This is, like Jeremy perfectly said, because at the end of the day, the minute you look at the camera, you're considered posing with the fish.
Yeah, the way MNRF explained it to me is you can videotape and photograph, you have someone taking pictures of the whole thing of you playing the fish, putting the fish in the net, unhooking the fish, resuscitating the fish, releasing the fish. That can all be documented. But it's just that grip and grin picture where you're lifting the fish out of the water and say, hey, look what I caught. That's the one they don't want to see. That's the one that's going to get you in trouble. So you're right. You got to be clever about it. And this is all about videos, right? So what I'm saying about videos and drones and all that stuff, it's still got to, you got to make sure you're not targeting the wrong species at the wrong time of the year and just trying to get around it by using video photography.
Yeah.
If you're targeting, and you're breaking the rules then anyways, right?
100%.
And it's that perception you have to be careful of. What we're talking about here is people just don't want to see big trophy fish lifted out of the water, and they got that study out of Alabama. Now they're saying, large 10-pound plus bass, if you lift them out of the water in Alabama where it's really hot and the water's really hot, they're saying it's like a 50 to 80% mortality rate for large fish that are brought to the scale at fishing tournaments. And they're thinking they might make that illegal and put in a slot limit in Alabama. So you can only bring in bass of a certain size, and the big ones and the little ones have to be released at the boat. Now that brings that whole thing, the whole catch, photograph, release kind of tournaments. And but who's going to do it, right? How are you going to convince people that have been doing it with the weigh-in and on stage, for so long? And my God, we've had so many discussions. You, me, Jason, Jim. We've talked about this all around and around, right? So that's
you're starting to see a bit of a trend towards the catch, photo, release. At the end of the day, I do believe at this point, unless you legislate it, people still love the excitement of a weigh-in, and it's going to be tough to get away from that completely. But I will say it. There is a trend towards catch, photo, release. There's no doubt about it.
There is, and we have the videography, we have the photography, we have that technology now. We can do it, and it's just a matter of figuring it out. Maybe you don't publish all the results for the last hour or so. So there's a surprise ending. even the ones where they bring this fish up to the weigh-ins, people pretty much know who's winning already anyways, just from what's being reported. But anyways, that's tournament fishing. Let's get back to the Northern Ontario, which is just people, it's tourism. It's what most of us do. Just say, well, we want to go fishing, and if we can afford to pay someone to let us stay at their place and maybe take us out fishing, that's even better. You know, it'd be great to have that experience once in a while in our lives.
Yep.
You have some of those bucket list experiences. And I talked to one guy who said he has been involved with this fishing lodge. He now owns it. He's been there for 40 years. And for 40 years, they have not allowed any fish to be caught, to be killed. Not for any reason. Yeah. No fish is allowed to be killed. For 40 years, Scotty, on this lake, there's one other lodge on this lake. It's a fly-in fishing lodge. It's a fly-in experience. Same with the other lodge on the lake. Both lodges are sort of operating using this policy. And he said the first 15 years, it started to get better. He said it took 15 years to make it amazing. And he said for the last 25 years, the fishing is stupendous. Like we're talking giant. He said the walleyes are all 28, 30, 32, 34 inches. The pike are enormous. He said, you can just go out and expect to catch big walleye and pike at his place. And he said, if you want to have a shore lunch, he buys sustainably harvested fish from around Canada, and he'll just give you a pack of frozen fish to bring with you in the morning to have with your shore lunch. But you're not to kill the fish in the lake.
And sorry, Lawrence, did you mention where this is? What area is this in?
This is up in Kenora. It's not Lake of the Woods. It's a smaller lake, and I'll get some information on that, Scotty, for next time. I haven't got my. I know, eh? So this guy, he's just amazing, absolutely amazing. He tells me, he said, man, everyone thinks I'm an idiot. People say you're dumb, but he said the proof is in the pudding, and their lodge is booked out. They have 90% of their customers come back year after year, and they have very few vacancies, if ever, and they're doing really well. So he's the other end of the extreme, right? And then there was one guy, I'd say he was a step back, and Scotty, I think you would appreciate this. This guy said, look, if someone brings in catches a 28, 30-inch walleye, and it looks like it's at the end of its life, it's old, right? All scabby, and the fins are all beat up, and it's got mucus on the eyes, and they say, I really like to keep this fish, and I wonder if I can keep it. And he said, in certain circumstances, he'll let them keep the odd big fish that looks like it's it's beyond its best spawning time, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to spawn much anymore, and any eggs that it will spawn are probably all deformed anyways. And he'll let people take a few fish like that. He said, I'm not going to be a hard ass. I'm not going to, this is the line on the sand. If you cross this line, you're never coming back. You're dead to me, right? He makes these nuances, these little decisions every so often because for whatever reason, it's important to someone. It comes up once in a while, and he allows it to happen. It's within the rules. It's within the law. And he's up past Horn Payne, Ontario.
Okay.
But he says they're doing very well. And most people agree, you don't let the fish go. Just let the fish go unless it's a real unusual situation.
That is a unique clientele to have. And I would imagine they're returning clientele because
again,
have to go through the whole exercise of trying to explain why we're not taking fish, we're not eating fish, we're not having shore lunches or fish fries or anything to that extreme. Must be an arduous task, but the fact that they have a clientele that is, and it's obviously sounds like a successful outfitter. That's remarkable, man. The buy-in from the anglers and clientele, like that's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah, and again, it's a fly-in lodge, and so they can make the rules, so they can see the benefits of the rules, and people who come there can see the benefits. I'm on North Bay here, so I'm talking a lot of the lodge owners that are on Nipissing, the cabin owners, and it's mostly just rental cabins, right? And they're saying, look, Lawrence, like I'm not going to stop someone. I'm not going to stop someone from taking a cooler of fish, if they're in their possession limit. With their buddies and they want to bring fish home. or if they're bringing 5 fish back and they want to clean them and eat them and have a party, how am I going to stop them from doing that when everyone else is doing it, right?
Yeah.
When there's commercial walleye fishing going on the lake, how am I going to stop them? I said, are they turning on to bass? He said, yeah. He said, more and more, we're starting to see people go on to bass. And Nipissing, as you know, recently changed the rules. You can catch bass in Nipissing Lake year round. The season ends December 30th and opens January 2nd. So, it's closed for like 48 hours. And I don't even know if there's a limit. I'm not going to guess at that. There probably is, but I have no idea.
There's the four fish limit. I'm sure George is on here, so I'm sure he's going to mention. Is the lodge that you were talking about before, was it called Maynard Lake Lodge?
Where's that? Which one's that?
The one that you were talking about in Kenora area?
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know. Look, there were so many names, and I'm bad with names to begin with. But I'll figure it out, you guys. I'll figure it out.
George just posted Maynard Lake Lodge, so I'm assuming
it sounds familiar, George. That does sound familiar. And I just don't want to say, I don't want to, point the finger at the wrong guy here, whatever, for good or bad. So let me check my notes. My colleague was taking all the notes, and I haven't got the notes back from him yet. So
right on.
Yeah.
We have time for one more. If you have any more news items.
Well, I just want to add, about the lobster fishing in that documentary that you showed about the United States. The lobster are shifting north as the ocean gets warmer, and the lobster fishing off the east coast of the United States isn't as prosperous as it used to be because you just don't have them. But and we were seeing a reduction in Canada, and they were buying out lobster fishers. I know I have some friends that sold their licenses for $1 million. That was 10, 15 years ago. They got $1 million for their lobster license. And but now in Eastern Canada, you can make $300,000 to $400,000 a year as a lobster fisher.
Wow.
And if you have a license, you can make that kind of money. And the DFO just released a report that the lobster fishery is so lucrative. It's so lucrative that they estimate 10 to 30% of the catch are being sold illegally. And it's a problem because now they can't really document, the fishing pressure on the lobster in Atlantic Canada. They can't really document, that for managing the fish stock or the lobster stocks properly. And they're realizing they have to crack down on this. And they say, okay, they go to the local buyers and they're saying, are you doing this? Are you doing this? And the local people are saying, oh, no. But so there's apparently people coming from away, and they've got pictures of bags of cash on the back of the truck, bags of cash, and where people are buying these the lobsters and hauling them away. And they're trying to figure out who are these people, what's their motivation, and they're actually paying more for the lobsters with their cash than the fishers get from the legitimate buyers. Wow. And then they're, what do these lobster guys do in Atlantic Canada do with their cash? So they do with what they've done with it for multiple generations. They shove it under their mattress and they hide it there until, things go bad again, because inevitably there's always bad times coming, right? Every fisher on Atlantic Canada knows there's good times, but the good times are there to get you ready for the bad times because they're coming next. So, having some cash under your mattress, stuffed in your walls or whatever, in Atlantic Canada, that's not normal. That's people prepare. They don't go crazy, spending all the money and going into debt because they know there's bad times coming. But what the hell's going on with this? Can you imagine?
Before you reveal any more, I'm sure your phone's going to start ringing. The W5. I smell a W5 documentary coming. Because of what you just announced.
Not me. DFO. This is a DFO report. 10 to 30% of the catches undocumented and it's being sold illegally. What the hell? That's just crazy.
Well, I dare say that'll get cleaned up pretty quick because we've seen what's gone on with the glass eels in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So let's assume they'll get to the bottom of it and they'll clean that up real quick.
I think that this is the beginning of a cleanup exercise. I'm hoping for sure. Just get some. The fishers are the legitimate fishers are saying, look, this is ridiculous. they're ruining it for everybody else because they're the ones now overfishing. It's unreported fishing. Now maybe it's putting the stock at risk, and it's ruining it for everybody else. It's playing it straight.
True enough.
Yeah.
Lawrence, as always, my friend, I can't thank you enough for all that you bring to our show and our community. All I can say, dude, is keep up the great work, and we look forward to hearing what you bring to us next Monday. It is Ladies' Night. Yvonne's going to be on here with Barb Carey. Looking forward to that, of course, but I'm always looking forward to talking to you as well as the rest of the panel, Lawrence. So
thanks, buddy. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, dude. Have yourself a great week, my friend. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you next Monday. We've got Jason Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor. Take care, Lawrence.
Bye.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made, every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
There he is, the one and only Jay Barnucz.
What's happening, Scotty?
Well, Jay, you know what? We've had the luxury of running into one another this past weekend at the Ultimate Ice Fishing Show. And I think one thing that I wanted to talk about, which I think both you and I get taken back, is the number of people that come up to us and say, you know, I watch you on Mondays. I watch your show on Mondays. You know, really like what you guys are doing. And I'd have to say that number is definitely growing of people who approach me. I can only imagine what it's like for you.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Like Trevor and I went up for the day on Saturday, and Trevor was helping Enzo with the Power Box booth, and shout out to Enzo. And actually, I will share a quick picture if I can, because it's a nice picture. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, and yeah, we had a good day. I walked around the show, and there's Enzo with Trevor, and Aiden is the other gentleman, and they were helping Enzo sell some power boxes, and that was great to see. Always good to see Enzo and his family. But yeah, while we were there, man, I just walked around, talked to people, and yeah, it was great to talk with a lot of CFN followers, you know, and a lot of people admitted they don't catch the show on Monday nights, but they like to catch up with the show after the fact, be it on YouTube or on Facebook. So that was really cool.
So what I would love for folks to do, and even if you're here with us right now, in the comments till the end of the video, because depending on who's watching and when, I would love to know, do you watch on a Monday? Do you watch on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, Friday? If you could put in the comments what day of the week you typically watch CFN Live, because I'm always interested to see, you know, the number of views have always stayed solid. They're always usually right where they're supposed to be. We have an engaging and continuous crowd that always comes and watches. So, you know, but I'm again, like you mentioned, the totals of viewers that are watching, and then you see the number of views that we get at the end of the week. And it's like, okay, well, when do people actually watch this? Because there wasn't, you know, 1,500 people watching it on Monday, but at the end of the week, that's usually the tally. So I'd be interested to see.
And a real mix of people too. Like some of them were attendees at the show, and others were vendors at the show and seminar speakers. And it was just good to catch up with folks, man. Like, to be honest, like we haven't, as a community, you know, we've all been off fishing for 6 months, right? So it was great to see folks that I probably haven't seen since probably since March, since for the spring fishing show, or even the show in Woodstock. There was quite a few vendors that were there at the show in Woodstock, and we caught up with them. So that was just really cool. That was cool to talk to people and just get caught up with folks and see how their season was and what they've been up to, and you know, and of course, ice fishing was the popular topic, but you know, it's just good to see folks and catch up with them and hear what they've been up to. It's been cool.
And you can see that folks are still a little hesitant, you know, talking to some of the vendors around the show. Some of the big ticket items weren't a hot sale. You know, they weren't flying off the shelf by any means. So people are still a little hesitant. I would imagine that this cold snap that's going to be going on this week into next might bring up the barometer, if you will, when it comes to the desire and passion to want to go ice fishing, because we're definitely going to be making ice later on this week. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, like some of our friends out west, I know there's been rumors of guys already punching holes through the ice in Alberta. A buddy of ours is out in Calgary visiting family. He texted me this morning. It's -16 there. A lot of minus temps. That weather's slowly coming this way. There's some concern, we got these warm, the Great Lakes are as warm as ever. So, and George mentioned in the comments earlier that, snowfall this time of year really hurts the ice formation. So, but yeah, it's coming. Whatever's going to happen, it's coming. Winter's on its way, or whatever shape it takes. So hopefully we see some cold weather. I think the message at the show was pretty clear, though. Like, a lot of the dealers are hurting. They've been carrying product for 2 years, some of them, because we just haven't had a lot of good ice, especially, sort of in the southern part of Ontario from North Bay south. But it's been great just to catch up with people, and people are trying to be optimistic, and I'm optimistic for them. I hope it works out for them. But the show, though, was, I thought the venue was great. It was, for those that don't realize, the original ice show was not the original one, but the prior to COVID, this show was at the Sadlin Arena in Barrie. And I, like, me personally, it's far for me to go. It's a little over 2 hours to get up there from home. But I think that Barrie is a good hub for ice fishing in Ontario, being close to Lake Simcoe. You're a couple hours from Southern Ontario, where I am. You're a couple hours from North Bay. And I met guys from North Bay. I met folks from Perth, Ontario. They came quite far to go. And the show was, I think it was a little slower than folks wanted. I do think, though, that, the seminars were well attended. There wasn't an empty chair in the house every time. The content was great.
Yeah.
I got to catch up with some, Dave Chong and John White. I haven't talked to John for a while. John is probably the best source of information for Lake Simcoe on a day-to-day basis. And so hearing John's thoughts about ice fishing and what he expects might happen. And, I think a lot of us, though, we're just getting tired of looking at all the forecasts. We just want to drill some holes, Yeah. John had some great insight. He's what John does. If folks don't know, and they should really follow John White on YouTube and Facebook. He's on TikTok too, but especially on YouTube. He's always posting updates on Lake Simcoe and Lake Simcoe ice formation and sort of how the season's progressing is a good barometer for sort of our Southern Ontario anglers. And, John just has a great knowledge of, oh God, he has so much information about whitefish and lake trout and yellow perch and Lake Simcoe. So, yeah, I hope folks think about going next year, and I hope the show goes back again. I think going back to, like, it's an old venue, but it's new again. I made a comment that I think it's got to take a couple steps backwards to go forward again. So I hope that we can sort of weather this storm, and it's nice having an ice fishing show. And I think the time of year is great. Not on Black Friday, mid-November. The weather's not great, so it was good. It was good.
That's cool. I did. It was funny because John really saw the humor in it, but I said, you remind me, and I really look forward to the hard water season, obviously for my own personal reasons, but also to listen to your videos. I said, you are truly the white Morgan Freeman of the Canadian ice fishing circuit. When you narrate your videos, your voice is so awesome.
It was. I'll make a funny comment about that. Actually, it's funny you bring that up. So we ran into John after one of his seminars. Tremblay's had a booth at the show this year. And Tremblay's, if folks that don't know about Tremblay's, they're in Aurelia, great shop. And, I love promoting all the shops out there. And Tremblay's is a real hub for anglers in that Aurelia, Lake Couchiching, north end of Simcoe. If you're heading north to go ice fishing, or even, we'll stop in there if we're in that area to go bass fishing, walleye fishing. they have everything you need. Well outfitted store, and just great catching up with the owners from Tremblay's, and seeing some new faces at the show. And while we're there, John came in the booth. John does a lot of work with Tremblay's, and he was talking to Trevor and I. And oh yeah, Scotty, I was going to show you. I had to grab a few some of my favorites here.
Yes, man.
The old buckshot rattle spoons.
Buckshot, baby, buckshot.
Dude, I catch so many fish on these rattle spoons. These are the half ounce. I got some half ounce ones and some 3/4 ounce.
Was that a rattle spin? Is that what that was? It looked like a buckshot. That's a rattle
spin?
Yeah,
it's a buckshot. It's got the rattle in
it. Okay, right on.
Yeah, buckshot rattle spoon. And some of the larger sizes, like for Quinny. But I'll be honest, dude, I've caught quite a few lake trout over the years on those buckshot rattle spoons. Those glow in the dark ones are my favorite, and I run them all day long, glow or not, especially on the really cloudy days. But anyways, we're shooting the breeze in there, and John walks up to us. And I talked to John, and I've known John a long time. Back before Facebook was a thing, we did. John he still runs the Lake Simcoe message board, right?
Yep.
And he ran message boards for Lake Simcoe. There was a Bay of Quinte message board, and and he does all these videos, and Trevor's listening to John and I talk. And after we leave the booth, Trevor's like, if I close my eyes, Dad, I can hear his voice. Because Trevor watches all of John's videos. Like he is the fishing Morgan Freeman for Ontario anglers. He truly is, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he's like, I've never thought of it like that. I said, dude, that's what you remind me of. It's like the Blue Planet. I'm like watching an episode of the Blue Planet on but it's on the hard water of Lake Simcoe.
I don't know, outside of like some of my buddies who do like professional cinematography work underwater, I don't know anyone who does better footage than John. I would love to spend a day with John just to watch him film. Seriously. Like it's amazing the footage that he gets and the work that he puts in, and he's not, he films everything in 4K. He uses the Aquaview cameras, and the way he does it, it's just I said to Trevor, and I talked to us on the way home. It's like you have to practice filming just like you practice fishing, and if you want to get more content, you have to just get so used to how to do it, how to manage your data is what it is, because you're collecting all the data from the videos and being good at it, switching out cards and collecting all that content, then knowing how to sift through all that content to get the clips that you're looking for, and then pull that all together and edit that into a video. And the way John does it, it's impressive. It really
is, and I don't mean this because I think it's more inspiring, a man of his age that is still so tech savvy, putting these videos together, narrating exactly what he wants to say over top of it, because that's not easy. And trust me, I know what goes into putting videos together, and the fact that he's doing it at 4K and I don't know.
Yeah, it was, and I went to purposely hear John's seminar, and it was, I'll say this, like Pure Fishing didn't have, like, there wasn't a whole lot of pro staff there. Like, you probably noticed that. Like, there was a few from some of the, like, Tackle Depot had some of their pro staff in their booth. American Bait Works was there, well represented. But a lot of the companies, like Berkeley, Abu, Shimano, a few others. Yep. I saw Lee there. Talked to Lee briefly at Tremblay's. I've known Lee a long time. I've known Lee 20 years. Yeah. And but there wasn't a lot of pro staff there, so it was kind of cool for me. Like, I just enjoyed going to the show, talking fishing, and checking out the seminars. And I wish we could have stayed longer. Because it was just, everyone was good. Yeah. Everyone I wanted to listen to. I wish I would have brought a recliner, man, because those plastic chairs are not the most comfortable to sit on.
And that's coming from a man who's lost 45 pounds. Like, dude,
yeah, that's true.
I know they're.
I'll never be small enough to be comfortable in that chair. I don't care how much.
This is everybody says, Scotty, why do you love the fall so much? Is it because you usually catch big walleye? Because it's football season? No, you know why I love the fall? Because all that summer furniture, that plastic stuff that has faded in the sun, People haven't thought to replace it. You know, oh, Scotty, have a seat. Are you kidding? You want me to like kill myself? Like I see stitches in my near future if I sit on that. So that's all in the shed, and I'm so happy for that.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. I'm very particular about what I sit on because there's things that I do not trust the structural integrity of a lot of chairs that I park my butt in on occasion, right? So yeah. No, it was a great show. It was great to see Brad at POW, like, you know, just catching up with dudes, man. It was great. Talked to Ashley Ray, talked to Pam. And some of these folks are not just fishing folks. They also work like for the ministry in different things, different capacities. And so just catching up with people, and we're coming out of the busy time of year for a lot of folks, but people are still busy. People are still out. There's still people out bass fishing. A lot of our angler friends, they're all deer hunting now too. So there's bow season, and we just came out of the first gun season, the first controlled hunt down here. So yeah, just seeing how people are doing, man, just talking outdoors. It's great. It's great. I'm trying to think who else I talked to. Brian at JB's. That dude is just that guy's a saint, man. I love working in that booth when I'm there at the shows because he takes good care of people, man. And he's a great dude, right? So I can't say anything bad about anyone at that show. Even I ran into Mike Reeser, our buddy he's a good friend from Starcraft and Smokercraft. He's one of the national sales reps. Yeah. Marsh Marine had some boats there. In fact, if folks that don't know this, Andy and the folks at the Spring Fishing Show are giving away a Smokercraft boat with a Suzuki motor, about a $10,000 package. And that was on display. And when I saw it, I'm like, Smokercraft, that's got to be Mike. Mike's got to be involved in that. Sure enough, through Marsh's Marine, which is a great dealer up there, they set up this package, and they're going to be doing a raffle at the Spring Fishing Show. So if folks are looking for it's a beautiful camo little boat, little John boat. You know, if you don't have a boat, it's a great starter boat. And for anything small, especially for small water duck hunting, that's going to be raffled off in the spring. So I thought they were going to raffle it off at the show. I asked Andy, no, we're just displaying it here. We're going to save it for the February show. So, but yeah, the dealers though, like I said, you know, there were some deals like, you know, like Tremblay's had 15% off lures. So that's great. You know, but some of their product, like these guys are carrying product from 2 years because of 2 rough seasons. And especially large items like some of the big huts, like those aren't cheap. And but they're definitely doing some good markdowns. And so people have been reaching out to me this week. Black Friday, there's lots of deals going on right now. Like I was talking after I talked to you at the beginning, I was chatting with Mark Penner from Grimsby Tackle. They got great sales going on. I saw Angling Sports in London's got great sales happening. Like Gagnon's has great sales happening. So like, if you're looking for some deals, like check it out. I saw Erica and Mark were looking for an ice suit on Facebook. And, you know, I'm not sponsored by Striker, but I bought one of their Predator suits 2 years ago, and love it. And I saw some of the stores are offering 50% off the jacket. Now, that's a $400 jacket, right? And it's on for $200. Like, you know, and it's one of those, like, what's the saying? Pay once, cry once. Is that like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
yes.
Like, and I'm just telling you,
get it over with.
Yeah, just get it over with. And those Striker suits are great, but there's another brand out there. You probably saw them, Little John.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they make some, like, they have like $400 entire suit, like bibs and jacket. They're not as, like, I'm going to say they're not as nice as the Strikers, but damn, they are a nice outfit for someone trying to get in, and not just ice fishing. If you are a cold weather angler, you're going out in a boat. Heck, if you're going to want to go walk the banks and catch some walleye in the fall, and you just want to have a nice warm suit to wear, they're awesome, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
George has ordered.
There you go, George.
Yeah.
George is the deal finder, man. I know George. He's checking his, what's that? Like, he's like the Santa Claus of Black Friday fishing deals, man. He's checking his list twice for sure. So Yeah, no, there's some good stuff out there. It takes some legwork. I can remember, and I still know a few people that do this, like, and this isn't just fishing folks, but sort of everyday folks. Like, they take a day off on Black Friday to do all their Christmas shopping and basically online shop. And since COVID, everything's so easy to get now, right? With all these different apps like Shopify and others, I get like a lot of for me, the nearest shop for me to drive to, well, there's Erie Creek and Tackle in Tilsonburg, but Jocelyn's store in Woodstock, like, he's 45 minutes away. And a lot of these shops, Gagnon's, Fishing World, Grimsby Tackle, all these shops, their shipping is so reasonable. Like, I can't get there for the gas, right? I can't, it costs you more in gas to go there and back than it would be to order from them online.
Yeah.
And usually it's shipped you'll get it within the week. You order Monday, it's at your house by Friday.
Yeah.
So, or sooner. So yeah, I shout out to all the dealers who have taken that step, do their online system. And what's great too is most of the stores have websites. And so what I'll do too is it's like, okay, I'm going up north to Barry's Bay. I'm going to stop at Gagnon's on the way. Dude, I'll check the website before I go and I'll see what they have in stock. And then when I want to go there, I won't order it online. I just know they have it. I'm going to go buy it when I'm there.
Yeah.
Especially clothing, because you want to try it on, make sure you get the right fit. So, but make sure they got the stock and then go in and try it on and buy it. It's great, dude. Yeah.
100%. You shared a link with me this past week that I definitely have an interest in, and I'm hoping I can take the time to listen in, because of course it has a lot to do with perch in general. Obviously it's more geared towards our folks down in Minnesota, but the Minnesota DNR, Minnesota Fish and Wildlife, is putting on a webinar. That's the link there. And the only reason I'm encouraging folks to listen in, as you mentioned, Jay, before we went live, there's a lot of similarities when it comes to perch. I mean, how they interact and maybe their feeding patterns or migration patterns. Obviously, it changes from the body of water or different bodies of water, but nonetheless, they still behave very similar regardless of where they're at. But I'm sure there's more that you want to add to this as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like perch fishing, and I there's a lot of folks out there that may not realize this, because in Ontario we're spoiled with perch fishing with Lake Simcoe and Lake Erie, but in a lot of other sort of states in the snow belt, is perch fishing is, so some of the areas like Minnesota is not doing that. A lot of their big lakes, like the walleye stocks, are not doing as well as they historically were, and they're actively trying to manage them to get them better. But perch is a bit of an untapped fish in these places. And I think that's why Minnesota DNR is doing this webinars, to promote the perch fishing and to give anglers a little bit of insight into the perch management, but also perch fishing opportunities in Michigan. And I know that a lot of the folks on the call, we may not go fish in Michigan, but I'm going to bet there's some interesting information that's going to come out of that webinar. And it's webinars like this that I really enjoy, because you really hear from the biologists and the technicians on the ground, and more agencies are doing this. I actually, I had one come across my desk today that is a cool study looking at stock assessment and movement of smallmouth bass in the western basin of Lake Erie, and new data, that stuff that's just come out. And so I'll talk about that on a future episode. But some of these webinars from these agency staff is fantastic. It's really good.
Yeah, and the one thing too that I do appreciate more on this side of the border, and this isn't I'm not taking shots at our American counterparts, but the negativity after the post was made, I'd love to see a lot less of that. But on our side of the border, I will say, when stuff like this becomes available, the anglers right away are tentative and they're positive, because the approach is, we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of the process. And I think that is a huge strive in the right direction, especially when it comes to gathering the information, gathering the science, the citizen science, as we always talk about, but at least getting folks engaged so that they don't feel that something is being done behind their back. It's all out in the forefront.
Yeah, like George makes a good comment, like perch drives Southern Ontario ice fishing scene. It really does, because like when it comes to fishing, let's put it like this. We want to catch fish, man.
Yep.
Right? So, Scotty, we can go to Lake Simcoe and try and catch lake trout or whitefish, but it's not a numbers thing. Like you're going to go out there, you'll catch some, but it's for a lot of the novice and beginner ice anglers, they just want to go catch some fish, whether just to catch a fish or to catch some fish to eat.
Yeah.
And perch gives them that opportunity. And I think in some places, because more and more people are partaking in ice fishing because the technology is getting better, we have to learn how to manage these things better. In Minnesota, we've seen stories come out about panfish in general. So yellow perch is considered a panfish, but special regulations for black crappie and for bluegill, because those are popular sport fish, game fish in the US that we don't get a lot of press up here. Like this is a comment that Trevor made. Trevor made a joke on the way home. He goes, "Dad, are you like the only guy in the industry that does what you do that actually actively chases bluegill and crappie?" I said, well, a lot of where we live, that's a common species to catch in the wintertime. And we love chasing bluegill and crappie, but a lot of folks don't want to hear about that because that's not a common game fish where they are, right? Yellow perch is king for sure when it comes to the average ice angler, for sure.
It's amazing too, especially when you talk to Ohio anglers. It's split right down the middle, whether they like their walleye or they love their perch. And it's amazing to hear how many folks would rather have perch than walleye.
Yeah. Well, even down here, you think about Long Point Bay, and so a lot of guys are going out, and even up until last week, they were out catching perch in the inner bay of Long Point. So the seasonal trends kind of work like this, like in the spring after they spawn, they hang around that inner bay of Long Point. It's shallow. It's like 4 to 10 feet deep, all sand bottom with like scattered weed. And that's where they are. And then as the inner bay warms up into late spring and summer, those perch move out to the outer bay. And then once the fall temps start to kick in, once that water temperature gets back in the 60s, those yellow perch come back in the bay. And that's where they'll winter. They're going to winter in the inner bay. And then once we get ice, we go from boat fishing to ice fishing, right? Like as long as the water's open, you can catch them out there. And even the local ramps have been busy. Like up until last weekend, there's pictures of guys launching at the ramps, bait shops still selling minnows. Like perch drives it. But now there's great walleye fishing, but where I live, you need a bigger boat to go out and catch walleye, you know. But even the guys with the big boats, they'd rather catch perch, I think. Like I honestly, because it's a little bit easier, it's a little less work. You just like all they're doing, man, is in the inner bay of Long Point, because it's so shallow. It's hard to even use your electronics, Scotty, to find them because it's so shallow. Your cone is so narrow. Yeah. That what they do is they just basically go out there and they drift. And they drift with like a drop shot rig. And, they'll put a small plastic or a small minnow on a drop shot or on a worm harness. And actually, I shouldn't say even a pickerel rig is probably the most popular outfit. And once they get into an area with lots of perch, they might drop an anchor. And just literally drop an anchor over the side and sit and catch fish until the school moves on. And then they keep drifting. And that's how probably 80% of the perch anglers in Long Point Bay catch their perch, is that way.
Makes sense. Wow, makes sense. I see you shared a link in the comments.
Yeah, that was just that Minnesota DNR link. I just want to share.
Was it? Oh, okay, right on.
If they click on it, they can click on the webinar link, and then they can bookmark that webinar for and actually, if you sort of go through the DNR link there, it'll take you to other webinars that they have, and they actually have one in there. Maybe think of you, Scotty, in the fish off. They actually have one in there on red horse fishing in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool. They have like a whole list of webinars, like everything from bird watching to hunting, fishing. And there's one that's on red horse that talks about red horse ID, but also how to catch red horse. And a lot of the species of red horse there are the same that are here. So there's some really cool tips in there. If there's anyone on the call who participates in the fish off and wants to learn about how to catch a red horse, highly recommend the seminar. Very, very good. Yep.
So the other species of fish that we often see you target, Steve has brought up a concern that I think is shared amongst a lot of folks down here, especially in Southern Ontario. The concern about water levels. As it is right now, we know you love your steelhead, we know you love your rainbows and all kinds of trout for that matter. But we have not got the rain that we had hoped for to create that big run. And not so much are we seeing a lack of fish necessarily migrating, but a lack of water migrating.
Yeah, it's really a lack of water. So like I've been putting my time in along the creeks, not as much as usual, but I've been out looking. I was out yesterday for about 4 hours, mostly walking. Like I can walk the small, like our creeks around here are quite small, and you can walk up to a pool and I can look and I can count like every stone in the pool, right? It's like 6 feet deep, but it's so low and clear. I can see everything. And I saw a few fish, but they're right up in the log jams. And it's like, oh man, if I try and catch that fish, I'm just going to lose my $8 spinner or my $10 lure, right? And trying to drift a creek candy bead through there. It's Snag City. Those fish they're spooky, man, like really spooky. So there's a few fish moving in, and I know they're still moving up through, but they're trickling, just like the water. The water's trickling out, and the fish are trickling in. They're not coming in big waves. What will happen is, and Steve, we shouldn't be too concerned. I think what will happen is these fish are just staging. They're staging until we get a big rain. And when we get the right amount of water level, whether it be next week or next month or even next year, 2025, they'll still make their runs. There'll be lots of steelhead around. Most of the steelhead in Ontario are still that spring run strain. These are winter run fish that we're seeing right now. What sucks though is that it's taken away a fishery for a lot of guys. Yes. Where we're just not seeing the opportunity right now. And it's the same story. I was at the access point yesterday afternoon about 2:00 when I came out, ran into a couple guys that I know. And it's like we're having like an AA meeting, man. Like we're all just sitting around in a circle and we're all like, when was the last time you caught a fish? You know what I mean? It's just, and the other side of it too, is there's a few pools in the stretches that I fish that do have fish. You have to walk a long way, and it's like really rough terrain. So I only had a couple hours to kill on Sunday, so I didn't make the trek. You need to commit like a good 4 or 5 hours of your day. But I'll tell you, like some of those fish are being hooked over and over again. I'm seeing pictures from different anglers of like not the same fish, but I'm pretty sure it's the same stretch of river. There are some deep holes that are holding fish, but those fish are all like they're waiting for rain. So, and we keep getting teased. Like even I got home tonight, it rained another probably 3 to 5 millimeters tonight. Like, but it just little blips. And when you look on some of the long range, like I was looking, I got some work to do on a creek this fall for work yet. I got to go swap some temperature loggers out. Jeez. And typically 9 CMS is the average for this time of year. Mm-hmm. It's at 3.5. Wow. Summer base flow is 3, right? Ooh. So we're still at base flow conditions for a lot of the streams in Southern Ontario. Where some of this lake effect snow we're going to see, that's supposed to come next week in areas like Collingwood and Barrie, those snow belt areas, they're going to get lots of snow. And that snow, it won't be rain, but that snow will melt. And snow melt can be tough on fish because when it melts, it really drops that temperature in the river, right? It does drop it. The fish can be a little inactive, but it will get fish moving in. And so some of that snow, it's better to be rain if you want to see a sort of a quick return on fish, but some snow melt's going to help raise those water levels back up. And maybe the concern, Steve, and maybe that's what you're getting at too, is we got to be concerned about water tables, right? And groundwater for next year's fish. And snow is so important to Southern Ontario to rebound those water tables. And if we don't get a rebound in water table, we don't get those groundwater inputs like we have. We'll always have that groundwater input, but it's not the same, and we need that groundwater input. So
cool. One thing I wanted to share with you that we're going to start we're going to just dabble in it. We've done it before, but we're going to do it this year during the winter season for walleye. It'll be a Walleye Wednesday feature. And what we're going to be doing is featuring CFNers that release walleye through the ice. So if you have a release video, we want to see it. And we are going to guesstimate how many eggs. And of course, we're not asking you to determine whether they're male or female. Based on their size. If you can just give us the size, release the video, we can either guesstimate based on what you provide us with the specs of the fish, or just on the sheer size that we see ourselves. And we're going to tally it. And by the time the season is over, we are going to announce how many potential estimated approximate eggs were released by CFNers in the total egg count.
That's cool. I just hope that we don't have. I thought maybe you were going to make a joke there at one point about not just like, I do believe you're serious about the egg count, but I think I'll take Jim's side on this. I don't want to have to count how many inches of ice you're not standing on.
So this is the other thing, obviously, we want you to be safe. We want you to be smart.
Yes.
This isn't a contest by any means. This is just for our community to show that we care, that we're ethical when it comes to fish, and releasing them for the sake of the future is at the utmost and most paramount emphasis. I'm trying to say.
Agreed. Even I was chatting with Ben at Tackle Depot, and they're running their walleye tournament in January, the end of January, and that hourly weigh-in, it sounds pretty cool, man. I didn't go last year, and I thought about going, and I think I should go this year. I think it's going to be a cool event, and I think sometimes I just go to events. I don't care if I catch a fish or not. I'll go try, but it just sounds like a real cool gathering of like-minded folks, and I think I'm going to put that on my calendar and pencil it in. And if the weather looks good, I might make the trek up to Belleville for that event, because they do some great prizes, and they do a great job running that event on Big Bay on Quinny. So did you go to that event last year, Scotty? I think
not last year. No, I've been to it before, but no, I didn't go.
Yeah, so I think it's a cool event, and I'd like to see. I have to mention the Lake Simcoe Jumbo Showdown is on again this year, right? So John White keeps doing really well. He's tough. He's the tough guy to beat, man, on that lake. Yeah, that's a great event too. So yeah, some of these ice fishing contests are great, and I hope we get some ice just to keep that hype going, man. Just keep that hype up for sure.
100%. Jay, as always, dude. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to share.
Oh man, we're good. Thanks.
Richard, will it be by provinces? Yeah, I never thought of that. You know what? Yeah, we could do it by province. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Good idea.
You could. Like a little provincial incentive, man. Yeah. Like you got Ontario and you got some big greenbacks out in Winnipeg, and man. Like I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Jay, buddy, I thank you so much for just you being you, but everything that you bring to our community, of course, the industry, and what you do as a trade. Again, we could never thank you enough.
My pleasure. Thanks, Scotty, and we'll see you next week.
Right on, buddy. Sounds great. Right. Cheers. All right, that is the end of our show. Thanks so much for sticking out and being here right from start to finish. And again, we'd love to see in the comments when you actually watch the show. Is it Monday nights? Is it Tuesdays, Wednesdays? I'd really be interested to see, because there's so many folks that have come up to Jay and I and have said, we watch you guys. We really appreciate what you guys are doing. But, we don't – we're always taken back, because when we're sitting here, there's like 20, 30 people, depending on how popular or how available people are. But at the end of the day, there's quite a few views, and I'm just interested to know when people actually watch it. So if you could throw it in the comments, love to see that. But in the meantime, stay safe. Again, we do have some interesting weather that is coming, so don't get caught off guard, and don't get out on that ice too soon. So if you do start to see stuff harden up, we're going to be sending out reminders just to make sure that folks are not going on unsafe ice. But in the meantime, as I said, stay classy, and we look forward to seeing all of you again next Monday. We will be on Wednesday. We've got Matt from Zale Outdoors that's going to be joining Danny and I, which will be fun and very informative. So I look forward to that. outside of that, I think I'm done when it comes to all the announcements. Thanks so much, as I said, for all your support. Truly couldn't do it with any of you, and without all of you, I will say. Dave, it's time to take us away. All the best, folks. Love you all. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.